Greetings, nerdlings, and welcome to AmalgamNation Presents World of Lorecraft, Racecraft, Tauren Edition. The plains of Kalimdor have long been a home to these gargantuan nomads. The Tauren are a race of shamans, hunters, druids, and warriors who long ago developed a complex culture and system of living without the aid of stonework, steel, or conquest. This is not to say that the Tauren are a race of pacifists, for when they are angered they are capable of retaliating with swift and decisive brutality. Tauren are in a word stoic, embodying the strong and silent type with their quiet contemplation. This introspective air combined with their immense size are why many view the Tauren as a wise and dangerous race. Tauren rarely speak unless there is a true reason to, preferring to act instead of talk. However, once a Tauren has learned to interact with a companion, there seems to be a more open and enthusiastic exchange of words. Since Tauren warm slowly to non-Tauren, they are usually silent and may sometimes appear brooding. This silence may be attributable to the strife of recent times. Tauren have no love for bloodshed, as their deep spiritual beliefs do not have a place for warfare. The elders of a tribe solve most issues, or two Tauren might resolve a conflict with a ritual challenge resembling a duel. Having become members of the Horde, the introspective race has been involved in more and more conflict, creating a demand for Tauren warriors and healers. Many must spend time putting great thought into the actions they perform on the field of battle. Taking another life, whether it is man or beast, is an act filled with great significance and responsibility to the Tauren. Tauren history. Tauren have a long and complex oral tradition that has been handed down for generations. Since almost no written record exists of Tauren history, the accuracy of these tales is unknown. Regardless, many of their stories provide the only known account for several events in history, and so these stories must be regarded as having at least some believability. The Tauren race is presumed to be as old as the Night Elves, since both races are said to have awoken during the creation of the world. Much like the elves, they have a strong attunement to nature and the elemental spirits, thus their society is largely based on shamanism. They live to serve nature and maintain the ever-delicate balance between the wild things of the land and the restless spirits of the elements. In addition, Druidism, which was taught by Cenarius and eventually forgotten over time, has been recently reincorporated into Tauren society, further highlighting their devotion to nature. In particular, the presence of accounts regarding Cenarius before he was known to the elves are confirmed by other sources as being accurate. In particular, the birth of Cenarius is covered and their version confirmed by Night Elf mythos, as well as the book The Sundering by Richard A. Knack. Tauren ancestors dwelt deep within the Emerald Dream. Tauren and the War of the Ancients. In the primary timeline, the Tauren did not take part in the War of the Ancients, the battle against the first demonic invasion approximately 10,000 years ago. However, in the altered history created by the interventions of Crassus and his companions, they were convinced to join the alliance against the Burning Legion by the Dragon Mage. The xenophobic Night Elf commander Desdel Stareye refused to use the Tauren to their abilities, namely heavy melee fighters, on the grounds that they were apparently as likely to kill Night Elves and Earthen as demons. They were led by Hulm High Mountain. After the tragic loss of the commander, the Tauren were redeployed to extreme effectiveness by his replacement Jared Shadowsong. The Tauren who survived the war maintained fairly good, or at least cordial, relations with the Sentinels. Tauren and the New Horde. For countless generations after the war, the Tauren roamed the plains of the Barrens, hunting the mighty Kodo, and sought the wisdom of their eternal goddess, the Earth Mother. Their tent cities were scattered across the landscape and changed with the seasons and the weather. The wandering tribes were united only by a common hatred for their sworn enemy, the marauding Centaur. At the brink of extinction, the chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof, desperate for help, turned to the strange green-skinned warriors from over the sea. Cairn quickly befriended the war chief Troll and the other orcs and recognized that they shared a love for honour and battle. For their part, the orcs and the dark spirit trolls that composed the Horde found much in common with the Tauren. Each of these races wanted to achieve a more shamanistic culture, and the Tauren, long versed in the lore of spirit and nature, were well prepared to provide counsel and support the budding shamanism within the Horde. With the orcs' help, Cairn and his Bloodhoof tribe were able to drive back the Centaur and claim the grasslands of Mulgore for themselves. For the first time in millennia, the Tauren had a land to call their own. For this alone, they were forever indebted to their orcish allies. Upon the windswept mesa of Thunder Bluff, Cairn built a refuge for his people, where Tauren of every tribe were welcome. Over time, the scattered Tauren tribes united under Cairn's rule. There are but a few tribes who disagree about the direction their new nation should take, but all agree that Cairn is the wisest and best suited to lead them toward the future. Helping the mighty Cairn in the duties of ruling his race are the Archdruid Hamil Runetotem and the Elder Crone Magatha Grimtotem. Although the Tauren have reclaimed their lands and battle alongside the Horde, not all is peaceful. The Grimtotem tribe tries to this day to usurp the rule of Cairn, plotting to overthrow his leadership. At the same time, the Emerald Dream Realm of the Green Dragonflight is tainted with a strange evil. Malfurion Stormrage is trapped inside, and the Green Dragons act strangely as they attack all who pass near. Both Elven and Tauren druids are researching these events, since the Emerald Dream, home of Ysera the Dreamer, the Green Aspect, must be kept safe. Tauren mythology and culture. The earliest history of the Tauren is recorded in a series of myths. These chronicle the period of time from the creation of the world to the appearance of the Centaur. Speaking of the creation of the Tauren by the Earth Mother, their meeting with Cenarius, and the coming of the Centaur. Though the noble Tauren are peaceful in nature, the rites of the Great Hunt are venerated as the heart of their spiritual culture. Every Tauren warrior, or otherwise, seeks identity as both a hunter and as a child of the Earth Mother. Tauren, young or otherwise, seek to prove their bravery by setting themselves against the creatures of the wild. Despite killing the animals, the Tauren are taught never to waste anything given to them by nature and to give back what they can. They learn the fine balance that exists in nature, and that if they honour the Earth Mother, she will bless them in return. Despite their enormous size and brute strength, the remarkably peaceful Tauren cultivate a quiet tribal society. However, when roused by conflict, Tauren are implacable enemies who will use every ounce of their strength to smash their enemies on their hoof. They are noble and proud and have never, despite significant adversity in the past, succumbed to their enemies. Like the orcs, the Tauren now struggle to retain their sense of tradition and noble identity. Tauren fate. For the Tauren, nature is the mother of the world, and their fate holds a deep and resonant tone within their hearts. Tauren are connected to the ebb and flow of the world. They revere the spirits of the land and of their ancestors, and they turn to these spirits for wisdom and guidance. This connection manifests in their deeply animistic culture, where druids and shamans stand side by side with warriors and hunters. Tauren do not see a separation between the veneration of nature and the hunt. To hunt is to honour the spirits of nature. Tauren appearance. Tauren are large muscular humanoids with bull-like heads. Males average around 10.5 feet tall, while females are usually slightly shorter and lighter. Tauren are mostly made up of muscle, having incredibly developed physiques and brawny frames, most suitable for combat. Soft downy fur, usually quite short, covers the Tauren body, with manes growing along head and neck, the lengths of the arms and the shins. Tauren men and women almost always wear their hair long, and the males prefer braids to any other style. Coloration can range from solid black to blonde and even to white or mottled pelts with a range of spots and different colours. They have 3 fingers on each hand. Horns are most prominent on males, although all Tauren have horns. Tauren wear natural clothing, leather or hide, and some cloth. They prize jewellery, designing fine trinkets of ivory, bone and amber. From these materials they make bracelets or necklaces, and sometimes adorn their horns or locks with such beautiful displays of artistry. In World of Warcraft, the playable race of Tauren has been visibly downscaled to 7 feet tall. However, their realistic height should be around 10.5 feet. Regions in which the Tauren can be found. After living as nomads for generations, the Tauren have formed a new home amid the mesas of the vast plains of Mulgore. Thunder Bluff is the single largest Tauren camp, a permanent settlement built atop a nearly impenetrable mesa deep in the southern regions of Mulgore. Most younger Tauren travel there after questing for a time in Red Rock Mesa, a place preserved for training youths to hunt, fight, and commune with the spirits. In Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne, Thunder Bluff is in southern section of Mulgore, and there is a huge area to the north, whereas in World of Warcraft it is near northern reachable areas of Mulgore. The northern areas are replaced with a large mountain range. It appears that the reference to southern regions of Mulgore is actually a reference to how Thunder Bluff appeared in Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne. Lack of northern Mulgore in the World of Warcraft may be due to scale issues. Warcraft, the role-playing game, also describes Mulgore much like the Warcraft 3 appearance. It could also be that Thunder Bluff from the Frozen Throne game became Camp Narash either in lore or during the development process. Also, given the fundamentally temporary nature of almost all the buildings in Camp Narash and Thunder Bluff, it's possible that the Tauren chose to move the encampment at some point. Tauren relations. When the Tauren first encountered the orcs of Thrall's horde, the Tauren recognized the orcs as spiritual brethren. No other race shared such a similar outlook on the world, and the shamans of both races met frequently to discuss the matters of the spirit world. The Tauren allied with the orcs out of a shared vision, one of a collective of allies keeping each other well guarded. While the Tauren see the orcs and trolls as potential friends to welcome, they rarely trust the Forsaken with more than a nod and a place to set their withered feet. Tauren also bear no ill will to the members of the Alliance unless threatened by them, although they do make an exception for High Elves. The taint of magic on the High Elven spirit is a poisonous air to the Tauren, a stench of the soul that they cannot tolerate for long. Night Elves are quite the opposite. Tauren sometimes view them with awe and fear. Tauren and Night Elves have coexisted on Kalimdor for centuries, and Tauren have long seen the Kaldorei as a mythic race of demigods possessed of great magic and steeped in natural powers. Many Tauren have been known to despise the gnomes, considering them to be very destructive and disrespectful to the natural environment. Due to the savage machinery created by the goblins and gnomes, the relationship between the loving Tauren and the inquisitive smaller beings has certainly been affected. Tauren have an extremely close relationship with the orcs, with whom they share a similar culture. The late Cairn Bloodhoof was also extremely close friends with Thrall. They are less thrilled at the presence of the Forsaken at Thunder Bluff, who they grudgingly tolerate due to their alliance. The Tauren place a strong emphasis on the value of life, and the unlife of the Forsaken stands as an affront to their beliefs. There are Tauren that wish to cure the Forsaken like the Elder Council. In general, however, the Tauren get along with the orcs well, and the trolls almost as well. There's still a bit of distrust for the Darkspears, knowing that they only recently abandoned voodoo and cannibalism. The Tonka. An ancient offshoot of the Tauren race, the Tonka were thought to have been lost forever, but have recently been discovered by orcish forces based in Warsong Hold. Their story is revealed in World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. Tauren trivia. The Tauren name and appearance is based upon the Minotaur of Greek mythology. The Minotaur was a creature that was part man and part bull. Tauros is ancient Greek for bull. The Tauren culture, their nature-based religion, their preference for wood and leather as building materials, and their nomadic lifestyle is based on a conglomeration of Native American tribes from the southwest, northwest, and most notably the Great Plains regions of the United States and Canada. The word Tauren is an anagram of nature, though whether this was intentional is unknown. In the beta, Tauren did not have mounts, but instead had a racial skill called plains running to move faster over distances. The last name of the alter ego Marvel Comics supervillain Man-Bull was Taurens. Tauren are the only race that produce the proper sound effects when you use the moo emote. Tauren do not have belly buttons. Whether or not this is intentional is unknown. Thank you for watching, and as always remember, play the game and game to play.